Hey guys, Emily here. So today I'm going to be answering one of your questions. Last night I got some direct messages from one of you guys. Because it's a direct message, I'm not going to disclose who messaged me, but just know that this is a response to your questions. And the reason I'm making a video response is because I think it might be something that other people might also be interested in. So I have a couple questions here. Question: how did you start booktubing? Why, and what was the motivation? This person is planning to start making use of YouTube to be a user than a consumer. They don't know where, how, or why to start. So if you want to grab yourselves a cup of tea and just sort of listen to me chat, I'm going to answer these questions. What motivated me to start BookTube? I was in my final year of my undergrad and everybody kept asking me what I was going to do next year. I had a lot of friends in different programs that had more directly applicable jobs. My one friend did a science degree and went into like environmental research right away. And I had another friend who did a business degree and had a job lined up before she even finished her last semester, and she went into business and she is super successful in business, and we need to raise up those women and praise their successes because I am so proud of them for doing degrees that they're passionate about and getting the jobs that they wanted. I also did what I was passionate about, and I was passionate about literature and gender studies. And unfortunately, when you are in the arts, it means you have to push a little bit more to get a job. You have to be a little bit more creative. People, by people I mean family, were really pressuring me to commit to some sort of job. Like, what do you want to do? Give me a concrete example. But at the time I was thinking teaching, and I thought a fun way to make use of my degree and to keep talking about the books. Because the other thing was, once you leave the academic university setting, you lose having a room full of people who have just read, in theory, the same thing that you read, and a group full of people who want to talk about this thing. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, so I wanted to give that a try. I wanted to be more confident speaking to people. I knew I wanted to keep talking about books, so I started sort of filming these semi-educational videos with my sister, whose camera I'm still using. Like, she just bought this thing like 5 years ago, and I don't think she's ever used it because it sort of got adopted into my things. Thank you, sister. I love you and your camera. And so she helped me to film and edit, and there were a ton of practice videos that never made it to the internet. Probably about 3 months of playing around with this idea, of thinking through this idea. At the time, I had watched Thug Notes and I had watched John Green's Mental Floss, the more academic things, and I was thinking something along those lines, but specifically for the Canadian curriculum. So accessible, fun, educational videos. And the suggestion that I got was to, well, look and see what's on the internet. And when I looked and saw what was already there, I discovered that BookTube was a thing, but it wasn't really the format that I was thinking. And so at that point, I started to shift what I was doing to the review format opposed to the education format. And my passion on this channel really is the discussion videos. They just take a lot of time and a lot of planning. Reviews are a lot easier and still allow me to slip in some analysis without the huge time commitment, because honestly didn't really know what this was going to lead to. It was just something I was trying. Then I decided not teaching, at least not right away. I wanted to do a master's because I was really, really excited about the prospect of grad school. So I went from thinking about teaching to thinking about grad school and sort of pushing off the job another year by going to grad school. Then I started to wonder if I could use this platform to get better at articulating my thoughts. Because I was always somebody who had a lot of thoughts on books, who loved tutorials, who loved lectures, especially lectures with a lot of discussions, but struggled to speak in these lectures. And I knew that going into grad school, where we were going to have these little tight little intimate classes, that I wanted to participate, so I wanted to practice. The sort of next motivating factor for me was to get comfortable speaking about the things that I had read in an articulate way. And in part, making these videos about the books that I was reading for class and then going to those classes was helpful because I'd already talked through my ideas to a camera. So when it came to actually talking about them in class, if I had an idea, I'd already articulated that in some way. And the nice thing about talking to a camera is that you can edit down what you say. Like oftentimes I will struggle to articulate something and I'll just keep talking at the camera, and finally it'll click and I will go back and I'll start again and I'll be like, editing Emily, cut here, this is the thing you wanted, and I will articulate that idea exactly the way I want it. What I found is because I have talked through these ideas to a camera, it is easier to do it with real people. Same goes for book selling, right? Like when I review a book, I am in essence giving you the same sort of storytelling spiel that I would to a customer. This is what the story is about. Here are some things that I like about it, which obviously you would tailor to your customer. That was the why, and that's sort of how the why has progressed. And the reason I continue to do it is sort of twofold. One, I do find it helpful in real life, and the other reason for doing this is the connections. Like, it is really awesome to pick up a book that you think is relatively obscure and to read it and to post a review on it and to just put this idea out into the universe, basically, and to have people come back and be like, yeah, I've read this book, I liked this thing, I didn't like this thing. The only way to do that in my real life is to, like, find a coworker and be like, pitch the book to my coworker, here you can borrow my copy, let's discuss. Or form a book club that meets once in a blue moon. The online thing is sort of more organic. You're not forcing anybody to read this thing, you're putting this out there and sort of getting a very organic response. And organic is a weird word the more I say it, but it's really fun and rewarding to connect with people. That is another why, right? The channel has helped me to develop my communication skills and has allowed me to connect with bookish humans, which is something that I want in my life. So if you're thinking about starting a BookTube channel, I would challenge you to ask yourself, why? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to shift from consumer to user? What is your passion? I would recommend that you do this because you have some sort of personal motivation to do it. If you're doing it for yourself, if you're doing it to fulfill some need in your life, I think it will always be a rewarding experience. So I hope that makes sense in terms of why. Second question was how. I started this channel, like I said, with a lot of practice. The first probably like 10 things that I filmed did not go on the internet. Like, I was trying out different things, different styles. Most of the times I don't script my videos just because I find I appear a lot more natural if I don't have a script. The minute I give myself a script and I'm attached to some sort of wording, I want to deliver that wording. You can probably hear it sometimes when I try and do it, like I think especially with the Dark Tower videos. For those, I have kept some point form notes just because it's a discussion. Sometimes I'll become really attached to a phrase, the way I phrase something, and I will try and deliver that, and I struggle, and eventually you get this really weird delivery in between just me naturally speaking to the camera. So I generally avoid scripting. Of course, this is something that I would encourage you to practice. Before you put anything on the internet, sit down in front of your camera, whatever that may be, your phone, your laptop, a DSLR, whatever, and try different styles. Try talking off the cuff about your favorite book. See how that goes. Take the book that you've read most recently, do a point form list, see how that goes. Fully script an essay and then like deliver it line by line, jump cut, see how that goes. Different styles work for different people, and I think that before you put anything on the internet, you do need to practice. I always used to have my sister sitting in the same room, so even though I wasn't looking at her, she was reacting as I was speaking. I initially wanted another person in the room because it felt so unnatural to talk to this object. Now I find it awkward and embarrassing when people are in the room. Practicing is a really good way to not only get comfortable, but practice editing. So I would encourage you to pick an editing program that you find easy to use. Maybe this is an opportunity to try out a couple of free trials. Try editing your video together, try effects. Do you like that? Do you not like that? Do you just want a very simple cut? Do you want music? Do you not want music? Do you want to make use of YouTube's end screen feature? Like, play with the creator platform, play with your editing program, and just practice. Practice before you make anything public. The other thing that I did when I started was I had a video series planned. So my very first video was an announcement for a genre exploration challenge, which is where I asked various bookish people in my life to recommend a book to me, and I would read one book a month and sort of push my boundaries of what I was interested in reading. So I started off with a video that lent itself to getting my friends involved because I had asked them for a recommendation and then I shared that I was doing this with them. Like, I shared that announcement video with them and let them know that I was engaging in this platform to connect with them on their books as we went our separate ways from university, right? Like, it gave me a reason to check in each month because consistency is important. It gave people something to follow. There are quite a few of the bigger booktubers who have put together video series on like BookTubing 101. Emma Books has one, Lauren of Lauren and the Books has one. Those might be useful if you're looking for like a very specific how-to guide, but most of your questions seem to be about motivation and you were looking for my personal opinion, so that was my experience starting BookTube, my motivation for starting BookTube, and why I keep doing it. Something I would also recommend is setting boundaries. Do you respond to things like direct messages? You actually sent me a direct message which I didn't respond to in text because I last year set myself a personal policy that I would not respond with lengthy answers in text. I have been screwed over a couple of times where people ask for this sort of information from me, whether it's about my experience on BookTube or going into an English degree, my experience in university, and like they'll ask these questions that I genuinely want to answer. I genuinely want to impart what little wisdom I have if it will be helpful. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into these written responses and like the person doesn't even say thank you. Like, you don't even get a written response like, thank you for taking clearly hours of your time to respond to this question. Hence the video response, because I set that as a personal policy. Sometimes you have to be selfish. Like, you have to look at the amount of time that you have. Like, how many times can I take hours to respond to this question when I could just make a video? Right? And then everybody has access to this video. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it has been important to me to make these personal policies and set these boundaries because my time is valuable. This is a hobby. I do enjoy it, but my time is valuable, and I think you have to be clear in setting those boundaries and recognizing the value of your time for a hobby. That is something that I learned the hard way. So I would recommend that as you are thinking about what you are doing with this channel, that you also think about how accessible you want to be, in what formats you want to be accessible. I am also super hesitant to accept direct messages from Instagram because I have received just unsolicited photographs via Instagram. Thankfully with Instagram, if you have not allowed that person to send you direct messages, the photo shows up pixelated. I have sort of started halfway and learned the hard way that I don't want to be accessible in some of these ways. Now I'm in this awkward place of, well, I responded to some people, should I respond to all people? Whereas you're starting fresh. You have the power right now to sort of set out for yourself, and I would recommend doing this in writing because when I decided the personal policy of no longer responding to lengthy questions in text, I wrote that down for myself. Like, Emily, this is a thing that you are no longer going to do. If it warrants a couple hours of your time to respond, you're going to do it in video because other people probably have this question. I put that in writing and it has been glorious. It has been glorious to have that as a set rule. So because you're starting fresh, set your boundaries down in writing for yourself. You will thank yourself. Stick to those personal policies because they will make you so much happier and they will make this experience so much more joyful. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you have any further questions, leave them down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!